Hello, everyone. It's your friend of a friend, and I missed y'all. I will explain my absence in another video. It's a little YouTube drama, but we're going to get through it. But I'm happy to be back, and I wanted to talk about this series that has been trending all over social media. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It's based on Zimbabwean author Sunayatha's novel, also called The Polygamist. This series is 22 episodes long, and it's not in English, it's spoken in the Zulu language, but it does have English subtitles. I watched it with the English dubbing over it. Some people find that distracting because it doesn't sync up well with the actor's lips, so it's recommended to listen in the Zulu language and just read the subtitles for a better experience. For me, the show was so scandalous that I binge watched the entire 22 episodes in one sitting. There were so many twists and turns and jaw dropping moments from this show, it was unreal. So, in this video, I want to discuss the characters more than the plot because I think that might be easier to digest than trying to get into all the drama and the layers. I will be giving some of the plot away in this video, so if you haven't watched the series yet, proceed at your own risk. There will be a lot of spoilers. Hopefully everyone that clicked on this video has seen it, so let's get into the messiness that is The Polygamist.
Heard from a friend of a friend.
Okay, so let's start with the main character, the man that all of this drama and nonsense is centered around. Jonas Gamora, played by actor Sudomo Mishali. Hopefully I pronounced his name correctly. If I didn't, I mean no disrespect, because this man right here killed this part. He is an incredible actor. Go ahead and retire his jersey in the rafters. He will go down in the Hall of Fame as one of the most villainous black characters in cinema. The audacity of this character, the unmitigated gall. You talking about a habitual line stepper, that is this man right here. You draw a line in the sand and try to establish a boundary with this fool, he is liable to moonwalk over it, hit a split on it, bend your best friend over the line, and look you in the eye while he does it. This man has no shame and cares about literally no one but himself. A textbook narcissist. He throws around the phrase "my love" a lot, which is damn near appalling because every woman that is in his face at the moment is his quote unquote "my love." That man doesn't love anyone, including himself, but we'll get into that later. So Jonas Gamora is the CEO of a construction company, and it's a wonder any work gets done in that company because all we ever see this man do is bend women over the sofa, hoods of cars, banisters of stairs. It's not a whole lot of real working taking place, and yet his company is very successful. He is a wealthy man. And side note, did anyone immediately think of Sodom and Gomorrah when you heard his last name? Maybe it's just me. Anyway, he's married to Joyce Gamora, played by actress Gugu Gamidi. And she did her thing as well. Truthfully, every actor really brought it, and they all did their thing. So Joyce is a popular influencer. Her brand, ironically, is based on her relationship and lifestyle. She is also the face of these different brands, so she's trying her best to keep up with this public persona of being in a healthy, loving marriage with her husband Jonas and being a good mom to her 3 kids that they share. And Pume, Minzy, and the baby. I forgot what that baby's name is. They barely show him anyway, so it don't matter. And when I tell you Jonas does everything he can to undermine her, their marriage, and her brand, boldly, unapologetically, he couldn't care less about how he carries on a public affair with one of his own employees, Matipa, played by Kwanle Mathiwa. I know I butchered that and I'm sorry. And honestly, I felt like Matipa was Jonas's perfect match, as she was equally disrespectful and unnecessarily cruel in the way that she went about trying to get into a relationship with Jonas. She got into that company because she was dating Jonas's brother Magesh Gamora, played by Kenneth Dakosi, who helped her get a job in the company, only for her to dump him to get with his brother. Things move pretty fast between Matipa and Jonas, and he asks his wife Joyce for a divorce because he plans on starting a new life with Matipa. Now, Matipa has to be one of the most deranged side chicks I've seen on film. She knows this man is married. She sees how disrespectful and foul he is, not only to his wife, but to their children. But she wants Joyce's life so bad that not only does she play all the petty games to get under Joyce's skin and try to usurp her position as the wife, but she also decides that this man is also worthy of more children and gives birth to twin girls. And the only thing I can think of is it has to be his money, because you see what his marble head is working with. And the way these women fight over this man, you would think he was the only man in South Africa with money. He doesn't treat her well. She finds herself in many demeaning circumstances herself in order to stay in this man's life. I mean, this scene right here alone. Enough said. She's just given birth. She's sleep deprived, overwhelmed. Her body is still healing. Her mother, who is helping her with the twins, is literally a few feet away when he demands that she takes care of him sexually. As if he doesn't have a whole roster of women that can help him with that. And at some point, you can't help but watch all of this nonsense and wonder, does she really love this man, or does she enjoy competing with Joyce for him? Because she really comes alive when she's rolling up having these verbal spars over this man. But when she's with Jonas, he seems to understandably get on her damn nerves, especially once the twins come into the picture. And if these two ladies going back and forth over this deflated soccer ball head ass ninja wasn't already vomity enough, we find out that Essie, Magesha's so-called wife, isn't even his wife. He lied and faked a whole marriage to her to hide the fact that Jonas's marble head was actually married to her, and they have a child together, Sarah. Sarah Gamora, who was played by Lawazi Keith Tabisha. Sarah grows up her entire life raised around her siblings Mpume and Menzi, knowing that she's their sister, knowing that Jonas is her birth father, and all the adults that are in the know are forcing a child to continue this ugly lie and carry this burden and shame her entire life. And to watch this man give his children with Joyce the lavish lifestyle, and Sarah gets scraps. And naturally, putting a child in that environment breeds jealousy and envy. And poor Mpume, who thinks all this time that she has a real friend and cousin in Sarah, and all this time Sarah hates her for something that she has no idea about. And that's who continuously suffers throughout this story, is the kids. Sarah is so busy being jealous over Mpume because she's not a secret and her dad lives under her roof that she can't see that they have no real relationship. He buys her things, which is nothing to a man with means, but he doesn't have a real father-daughter relationship with Mpume or even Menzi. And for me, my heart really hurts for Sarah for two reasons. One, anytime she tries to express how she feels about being this dirty little secret and all the shame and hurt that comes from it, people are so dismissive and quick to say it ain't about you. And it never is. She keeps waiting for her moment to be brought into the fold and validated and affirmed by her father, and that day never comes. The second reason why Sarah's story really stuck with me is because I have a friend who was a product of adultery, and she went through the same things, watching her father financially support, and in her case, be a very active father in her half-siblings' lives, and being forced to keep her existence a secret. She knew all about her siblings, and they know nothing about her. And when her father passed away, she wanted to attend the funeral and make her presence known. And we had to talk her down off that ledge because my friend looked so much like her half-sisters. As soon as she walked into that funeral, they would have taken one look at her and all hell would have broken loose. And then on top of that, he is also pretty well off and left his children a good amount of money as an inheritance, and she was left out of the will. And the pain that I watched my friend go through and the anguish that she has held on for years, because like Sarah, she too wanted a relationship with her father and he refused. So seeing that character, Sarah's storyline, literally made me cry. It hit home for me. I told my friend, don't even bother watching this movie because it might be triggering. And that's the thing about this series. I'll speak for myself. I have unfortunately met too many men like Jonas. Maybe not to this extreme, but there were elements of his personality that just felt too familiar. Relatives, old friends, ex-co-workers. I think that's why this series resonated so much with viewers. A lot of us have come in contact with our fair share of Jonases, and the thing that makes them so horrifying is that they are aware of the pain that they cause others, but because they aren't on the receiving end of it, they don't care. We are introduced to Essie as Sarah's mother and Magesha's wife, but we eventually learn it was yet another scheme that Todd set up to come to us with the BS, because my goodness. So you could tell something was up with Essie because she stayed talking slick about Joyce, yet keeping tabs on her via social media and showing up to all of her events. Not to mention their girls are cousins, as we were made to believe in the beginning, but as we now know, Jonas was sleeping with her too. And the craziness between these two is it turns out that this whole time Essie was secretly married to Jonas. She is wife numero dos. Her and Magesh are not a couple, they aren't married, and Magesh put his love life on hold to keep up with this ridiculous facade. I mean, yes, he dated other women, hence Matipa, but having a real family of his own went out the window to participate in this crazy charade for decades. And that's on him. It's hard to feel sorry for Magesh because he allowed Jonas to run a smooth muck and he happily cleaned up his messes and enabled his behavior and tolerated jaw dropping disrespect. He could have been Rock Jonesy in his dome. But back to Miss Essie. Out of all the women that Jonas dealt with, Essie got the most honest experience of Jonas and his trifling ways, and she still loved him and desired him. And the flashback when they were younger sent me. So they grew up together, and even back then, he had the girlies in rotation. He's making out with one girl on the side of the house, and Essie is standing there lying to the next girl about his whereabouts, leading us, the audience, to believe that they are just homies. But then at night, in the shadows, on the low, he's laid up in bed with her, professing his love and selling her a dream. And the thing that really pissed me off is that she gave him the money that she was saving for her own future and invested it into him so that he could go to college. Now, surprisingly, she did get a return on her investment. He did come back and buy her a car and a house. This is a huge gamble because men that use women in this way rarely, if ever, make good on their promises. And he even married Essie. The only problem is he was already married to Joyce, and Essie already knew about Joyce and still accepted his proposal. So, in exchange for the lifestyle that he was able to provide for her, she and her children were regulated to the shadows, a dirty little secret, and a place of refuge when he didn't feel like being bothered with Joyce or his other side chicks. And I honestly thought maybe Essie was just in it for the money because she kept a man on the side, and the only demands that she really put on Jonas was to finally do right by their daughter Sarah. But she had been taught this man how to treat her and Sarah. She allowed her daughter to be neglected and mistreated by her father, all while encouraging her to be around her half sister and getting a front row seat to how well he provides for his other children. And it's probably so that Sarah can keep tabs on everything and spill the tea to her mama. No consideration on what these silly games are doing to her daughter and her self-esteem. And then there's Essie's son Freedom, who was a product of another relationship she had outside of Jonas. We watch Freedom often drunk and crashing out and not really understanding why. And come to find out, since a very young child, had a front row seat to all the lies, foolishness, and dysfunction. And on top of all of that, Essie sat back and let the revolving door of men, including Jonas, mistreat her children. And I'm so glad Freedom told her all about herself. But it wasn't until Jonas eventually gets sick and dies that it becomes apparent for me that Essie really loved Jonas. She attempted many times to cook for him or just see about him, even though Joyce was having none of it. But she was the one that prepared his body for the funeral, which, on a side note, I'll admit my ignorance on this. Can family members take over preparing the bodies for their loved ones for a funeral? I was like, did Essie get her mortuary license and I missed it? And are the rules different in South Africa, or was this just for entertainment purposes? Feel free to educate me in the comments, but as much as Essie loved Jonas, I wish she loved herself and her children more. I could say this about all the women that were in Jonas's life, fighting to remain in his life in spite of everything he was unapologetically putting them through. They were willing participants fighting to let him take them through there. Essie was there when he had nothing. She was the ride or die, and sure, she was compensated financially in exchange for her dignity. Now, out of all the twists and turns, this one for me was the most shocking. Out of all the tail that Jonas was getting, all the women that wanted to be with this man so bad, it's not enough. He goes on to pursue a relationship with his daughter's best friend and his son's known crush. Jonas knew how much his son cared about Lindani and didn't care. This relationship was so out of pocket, so inappropriate, so foul, and on top of that, he knew this girl since she was just 8 years old. And I'm sorry, the whole time we are watching this play out, it felt to me that it hadn't just started. I feel like she might have been groomed by him. He's known this girl since she was 8 years old. It makes you wonder how long had he been eyeing her. They would like us to believe that it was at the house party that the kids threw when he was out of town and he saw her dancing on the counter, but I don't know. What I do know is that no woman that isn't blood related is safe around that man. If you are coming around him and you are of no relation, you are getting bent over something. And I don't know how true this is because I haven't read the book, but over on Threads, the users say that Jonas was sleeping with Joyce's mama too. You heard that right, the mama. Like I said, this man knows no boundaries. Apparently, these women don't either because your daughter's husband. Okay, lady. And did y'all catch when she was commenting on Lindani's attire at the house? She said she was dressed inappropriately. Now, in that particular scene, Lindani had on a green and white dress. In my opinion, there was nothing wrong with that particular outfit. It was neither too short or too tight, but as the story progressed, yeah, she started sashaying around their house in very revealing clothes. Now, there are talks of a season 2 possibly coming, and maybe that will be another explosive revelation is that he was cracking the mama too. But old man Jonas and Lindani are literally creeping under everyone's nose right in the house. And because I'm convinced that Lindani was probably groomed by this man, I'm trying not to give her too much, but she is old enough to know better. Lying and cheating on her boyfriend, smiling in her friend and her mom's face while sleeping with their father and husband on the low. We watched this beautiful young lady get corrupted before our eyes. She became so enamored with the lifestyle that Jonas could provide that she happily dove into the deep end, getting pregnant by him, moving in with him, and it was just all sad. She was caring for him to a degree when he got the package, but when that condition progressed, she kindly passed him back to Joyce. And Joyce, she pissed me off and stressed me out so bad. I was screaming at the screen so much at her because it was like, how much are you going to endure to stay in this marriage to this man? Her own mama said this marriage is going to kill you or something to that effect, and I agree. If one of his side chicks didn't do it in a fit of jealousy or at the hands of Jonas because he was also physically abusive on top of all of his wonderful attributes, or the STIs and STDs he was bringing home, or the stress that he was constantly bringing into her life, every time she walked in a doorway, I was bracing myself for the worst. She walks into a hospital room. There's Jonas, supposed to be on a business trip out of the country, but is standing in a hospital room clutching twin baby girls that he had with the mistress that he claimed to have broken things off with. She walks into the bathroom and finds Jonas bathing Lindani. Like, ma'am, what more does this man have to do? How much more disrespectful does he have to get before you cut your losses? And the thing about remaining with that man and continuing to participate in the nonsense is what it does to her character. Throughout the movie, she is touted as a quote unquote good woman, the long suffering wife that smiles brightly and presents the perfect image, all while suffering behind closed doors and cleaning up all these messes for the sake of the brand. Lowering her standards by suggesting that Jonas take Matipa as the second wife as an act of self-preservation. Because if you remember, she stood to lose it all because Jonas was willing to throw it all away for Matipa. And the way that Jonas conducts himself, you are not going to convince me that Matipa was the first woman that he had an affair with, as sloppy as he is, or even the first time that she found out. But I think that Matipa was the first that he was willing to leave her for. And we know when a lot of men leave and start a new life, he pours all his energy and resources into the new family, and the older one gets scraps. So Joyce sacrificed herself for her children's inheritance, but she sacrifices so much more. Again, she's the good woman that's constantly getting arrested behind Jonas's messes. She's the good woman that's so fed up with his nonsense that now she's plotting to take him out. 4 different times, mind you. First was the fire, although it was an accident. Second was the pew pew. Third, poison. And fourth, with the gift that keeps on giving. And I'm only interested in season 2 because I'm curious to see what happens to a person that is pushed to the limit that she sets her husband up with a woman that she knows has the package and watches him die slow. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve what happens to him. He deserves it all and then some. But when a person isn't like that naturally and they are pushed against their nature, it's usually a point of no return. And when they get away with what they've done, they usually continue to do more. I don't think it will stop at Jonas. Matipa destroyed her home and then abandoned her kids with her and bounced. Lindani was like family and she was boldly sleeping with her husband. And it looks like Lindani got her claws into Minzy, so she's not going anywhere anytime soon. Essie, she thought was her sister-in-law, and that stunt she pulled at the funeral, I doubt she'll let that slide. And Magesh, as she puts it, made a clown out of her, so I don't think her revenge tour will be ending with Jonas. Joyce has proven to be very strategic and she knows how to play the long game. A lot of people played this woman for a fool, and if there is a season 2 of this show, we will be introduced to a new Joyce. The whole time that I was watching this, I couldn't help but think about how men run around saying that they are the prize. And I used to scoff at the thought of it, but after seeing this series and thinking over the people I know and the stories that I've heard, the way that some of us women fight hard to be in relationships with people that are harmful and toxic has to be studied. I really don't think if Jonas was Josie, a woman carrying on like this, wealthy, drop dead gorgeous, or whatever, would have a roster of men fighting and carrying on to stay in a toxic circus of a relationship like this. Watching all these people take out their pain and frustration they had with Jonas on themselves and each other, it was sickening. As women, we have to take credit for the monsters that we have helped to create. This movie may have been exaggerated for entertainment purposes, but it was heavy and it was easy to see how badly women staying with an evil, toxic man like Jonas can not only do you in, but your children in. And let's talk about the kids. And Pume watched her mom be an absolute fool over her father, and she asked her mother repeatedly, "Is this a good example of how you want me to be treated in my own relationships?" Basically stating, "You are setting a bad example for me. You are teaching me to accept mistreatment and abuse to save face and maintain a lifestyle." And Pume learns that her father really didn't love her. He flaunted Matipa around like this was totally normal. And my heart broke when she attempted to tell him how she felt through the letter she was reading to him. He wasn't listening. He didn't care that she was pouring her heart out to him. He was dismissive and rude, the way he was with Sarah. And Pume might also walk away thinking that all men are alike, as she caught her first love hooking up with her sister in her bedroom. And Pume got to experience the worst attributes of men at such a young age, and hopefully she avoids men like her father. But even when you try sometimes, you attract the very thing you are trying to avoid. Menzie was dang near a silent actor. He did not have much dialogue. He observed a lot and kept a lot in. He was definitely going through his own coming of age and trying to figure out what kind of man he was going to be. He had freedom in one ear, encouraging him to do drugs and be a degenerate, his father insulting him at every turn, questioning his manhood, and Magesh trying to give good advice and encouraging him to do the right things. But it seemed like a competition of who was the most influential over Menzie. And although we see moments of Menzie being his own man, as he is the first out of his family to forge a relationship with his twin sisters, as he sees it's not their fault that they were born into this mess, or the times that he has protected his sister and mother, even at times against Jonas. And maybe it will always be an ongoing thing for Menzie to find his own voice and be his own man, but judging by the way the series ended, he might end up to be just like his father or worse. Because how are you doing this outside your father's funeral with the same girl your father was sleeping with and who rejected you? Sarah seems fated to be just like her mother, a dirty little secret, willing to accept anything for a few crumbs and the slightest validation. My hope for her, now that everyone knows who she is and she's working for her dad's company and she's making what I assume to be good money, is that she gets therapy to unpack her mommy and daddy issues, and that she just focuses on her career. Because out of all the kids, I think she is most like Jonas. That vindictiveness and that hole within is too quick to jump out, talking about it was a cry for help. Girl, go cry on somebody's couch. Honestly, every single character needs to be in therapy behind what they endured from being around Jonas. Luckily, the younger kids will barely remember their father, but they will definitely hear stories. The family will try to sugarcoat it, but they'd be wise to just tell them the truth. And as for Jonas himself, the ending couldn't come for a more deserving person. His insatiable lust and lack of sexual discipline or discernment became his own undoing. When that lady showed up to the house, not one single alarm went off in that empty dome of his. The women in his life had him so convinced that he is so fine and so irresistible, they just dropping their draws on sight, not a dime spent. Yeah, okay. And that's what men like him never consider, that some people are sent, whether it's a setup or karma itself, sending that person that they know they can't resist to be your undoing. The fact that he didn't use protection with a complete stranger, and the fact that he is so freaked out and disgusting he couldn't even figure out who gave it to him. And then the arrogance. You've done everyone close to you so dirty, and you actually trust that they would take care of you now that you are weak and vulnerable. He would have been better off paying healthcare professionals to take care of him in the end. I would have been too afraid that everyone would be trying to get their lick back because he is so arrogant and used to people constantly forgiving him and giving him multiple chances. He didn't see Joyce coming. Even when she had that weapon, he automatically assumed that she was trying to harm herself, and it never occurred to him that she was trying to take him out. And the only thing that I couldn't really wrap my head around in this whole story of Jonas was why he refused treatment. This made no sense. He turned to herbal remedies instead of traditional medicine. When the early stages of the package doesn't have to be an automatic death sentence, you could still lead a normal life with proper treatment. How is a man with his resources not have a staff of the best doctors on call anyway? It was like all his health reports were coming from the women he was dealing with after catching something from him. That man was a whole fool, and to me, his only talent was his ability to manipulate others to do his bidding. I bet if you really dig into Jonas's rise to success, we will find a roster of women that were doing his homework and teachers that were letting him cheat. In the workforce, there were probably people who worked hard in the company and allowed him to take credit, and no one gave any pushback because his father-in-law owns the company and he's being groomed to take over, so no one wants to smoke. Like I said in the beginning, it's a wonder that any work got done in the company when the head of the company is a literal liability. And I don't think Matipa was the only employee getting bent over a desk. Men like that don't get to exist without a team of gullible people willing to exploit themselves, play cleanup, lie at all costs, work in the shadows, and fight to be a part of it all in the first place. But these are my thoughts on The Polygamist. Friends, what did y'all think of the series? Did any of the drama leave you guys triggered? What did you think about the actors and their performances? Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. If you got this far in the video, please like and subscribe. I really missed you guys, and I will be back soon.